Danger in the Middle East. Churches in southern Egypt have canceled Easter celebrations this year to mourn the more than 40 Christians killed in those two Palm Sunday attacks carried out by ISIS.
So why don't you hear more about this, especially if you've turned on other channels this morning?
Here to weigh in on this is the managing editor of EWTN News and the author of a new book, Will Wilder, The Lost Staff of Wonders. We had him on to talk about the book. Excellent read if you want to pick it up for you and your family. Raymond Arroyo, thank you so much for being with us.
Great to be with you guys. And I get the trifecta. This is a special.
It's unbelievable, and especially leading up to Easter, which this story is about.
This is horrendous what we're seeing. We all should mourn this moment, by the way, that terrorism has allowed an entire people, the indigenous people of Egypt, the Copts, to basically call off Easter because they're afraid for the safety of these people. When you've got bombs being driven into churches, when you've got suicide bombers, they found one of the two guys who set off these things last Sunday on Palm Sunday. But it's a very dark Holy Thursday for a lot of people and a dark Passover for many.
Was that the right move, you think?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the right move. I like the idea of al-Sisi and the government and the United States using its leverage, frankly, should create a safe zone where they can at least have a symbolic sign that the faith continues despite the terrorism. That should go on.
But the ultimate safe zone should be a church. And then last Sunday, Palm Sunday, somebody from ISIS, taking credit, put a bomb under the pews and blew up a bunch of people there. So obviously, people are now going to ground to stay safe.
People don't realize last year, 90,000 people lost their lives around the world for their faith. In a place even like China.
Wait a minute, 90,000?
90,000 people died for their faith last year. Human rights organizations have been collecting this. In China alone, 100 million people are persecuted every year for their faith. That's Freedom House's statistic. This is a global phenomenon. In Sudan, with Boko Haram in Nigeria, they're burning villages. They're committing unspeakable human atrocities against women and children. You bet. For their belief. And small communities. The Yazidis, there are some Muslim groups who are even being persecuted in certain parts of the world.
It's a war on God.
It's a war on God and belief. And if we're worried about human rights, we need to take a wider glance beyond just Syria. We have to look to Iraq. You've got refugee camps where Christians are being attacked every day. These are UN camps. There's a lot of this going on, and we have to somehow find hope in all this darkness. And that's what I think this season particularly is about.
How do you find that? I know you have a heart for children. You teach them literacy and biblical literacy. So how do you teach our children?
Well, my series is an adventure series for kids, but at the heart of the second book, it concerns the staff of Moses and the plagues that fall on an American town. But
perfect during Passover, too.
Perfect during this time of year. I got a letter from a Jewish mother saying we used it to teach the kids about Passover. I didn't even realize that the plagues were a big part of the Passover tradition, teaching children about the plagues. So they're using it in that way. But we have to find hope where we can find it. And Easter and Passover remind us that sometimes in the midst of darkness, there is this great light. That's really what my series is about, but more importantly, it's what we should be about this time of year.
This series is Will Wilder, now up to 2. Arroyo, thank you very much.
I know, and he goes into schools and gives them books, kids that normally would not have access to books. So you're a good man.